everyone. Welcome to episode 9 of Stellarvision, Stellar Rising's weekly marketing update. I'm Marleah Clark, CMO at Stellar Rising. Thanks so much for joining us this week especially. Our hearts are with very important social issues this week, but we do want to really continue to support brands, especially those indie brands, as they rebuild from the COVID crisis. We know consumers have gone increasingly online to shop during this time, and we know it will continue, making social selling especially critical to beauty brands. So I'm so happy to have Matt Rice, our Facebook client partner for beauty, with us today. Matt lives in New Jersey with his husband and young daughters. And in addition to his over 2.5 years with Facebook, always in the beauty space, he has amazing extensive experience across fashion, retail, and luxury at Time Inc., She Knows Media, and Condé Nast. So he's really such a knowledgeable resource for all of us. A little housekeeping, please don't hesitate to submit questions as we go in the chat panel. We will answer as many as we can. We like to be respectful of everyone's time. So also, please, if we don't have time to answer your question or you have a question later, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. But right now, let's get started. Matt, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. And good morning, everyone. As Marleah mentioned, I'm Matt Rice. I'm a client partner at Facebook and have been working within beauty for the 2.5 years that I've been at the company. I want to, let me get my presentation ready. Here we go. I want to start by saying, before we jump in to sort of echo some of what Marleah was saying, is that we at Facebook certainly recognize the challenging times that we're in. I know this has been a painful week, and while we are trying to process and deal with the pain on a human level, many brands and agencies are still looking for our advice and expertise to help maintain and grow and build your businesses utilizing our platform. So in the next 15-20 minutes or so, I'll discuss a few ways that Facebook can support our partners as COVID-19 evolves from a public health crisis to a new economic reality that we'll all be dealing with for quite some time. We'll recap some of the new behaviors that we've seen develop over the last few months and some Facebook products that help brands really recreate some of the offline experiences online. So we will have a little time for Q&A at the end. I also wanted to say that while we won't be sharing this exact presentation that you're seeing today, we will be able to follow up with some guides and resources that address the different topics that I'll cover today. So don't feel like you have to write down every single word. So as we look at some of the new behaviors and thinking about embracing the new normal, I'm sure many of you have seen in your own personal life experiences, as well as what you're seeing in terms of how your customer behavior has changed. But we at Facebook have certainly seen that there's really been an explosion in terms of at-home skincare routines and indulgence. Consumers are really looking to brands and to creators for self-care advice. They're also thinking about things like safe beauty. If we're not going to be able to go back into stores for a while, and even when we are able to go back into stores, how do we as consumers experience new brands and try on new products in a touchless and hygienic way? So I'll talk about some things that we're doing to help with that. We've also certainly seen that consumers are spending a lot more time online and on social platforms to stay connected during this time, and because of that, we've seen a real acceleration in e-commerce, and I imagine that many of you have experienced that with your own businesses as well. The next thing we're thinking about is, really being where the consumer is and knowing that her behaviors have changed a little bit during this time. It's important for us to think about that. And so when we think about where the consumer is today, we've seen that messaging has really taken off. because messaging creates an opportunity for a more personal and immediate connection between friends, between people, and between brands. And so that's something that we'll touch upon in the presentation today. We're also thinking about experiential and what experiential means today. And for so long we've talked about the idea that consumers buy experiences, but traditionally we've thought about those experiences as things that are happening in store or events. And so now we have to think about bringing those experiences to life across our platform. So things like lives and virtual try-ons and tutorials will be increasingly important. And then this isn't necessarily something that's new, but for quite some time, and certainly in the last couple of months during COVID, consumers really have heightened expectations. And when it comes to immediacy and personalization and frictionless shopping experiences. So as brands, we need to think about how do we create the most friction-free shopping experience that we can. And that's something that we're certainly thinking about at Facebook. And again, I'll get to some of those things later in the presentation. And then finally, leadership and empathy. I mean, consumers are really paying attention to how brands are showing up right now. They expect brands to show up, to have empathy, to have a point of view, and this will increase the likelihood that they'll buy from your brand in the future. And we've seen some really wonderful examples within beauty, whether it be a beauty company repurposing a factory to produce hand sanitizer. We've seen it in the entertainment industry with entertainment companies offering free streaming services and access to entertainment. And so we've seen a lot of really great examples there, but it is really important for brands to show up and to have empathy during these times of crisis and difficult moments. And we don't see these things changing anytime soon. What you see here on this slide, there are a couple of numbers from a recent Facebook IQ survey that was done that shows that 75% of respondents plan to avoid shopping centers even after they're able to go back and shop. So thinking about that online shopping experience will continue to be at the forefront. And then 87% of consumers saying that a complicated checkout process will make them abandon their shopping. And so again, thinking about in our e-commerce flow, how we can eliminate those points of friction along the way. So I'm including this slide here before I start to get into some of the individual opportunities that I'd like to talk about. I want to ground us in the fact that most of these experiences that I'll be talking about require some level of marketing and advertising support to get people there. So it's not necessarily if we build it, they will come. You really have to think about how you're leveraging both paid and organic to drive to these experiences. And then after we get someone to interact with your brand and interact with that experience, whether it's something that is directly within the Facebook app, or perhaps it's something that we're driving to on your own site, once we get them there, how are we then utilizing advertising after the fact to remarket to those folks? And so it's important to think about this framework as I talk through the opportunities on the coming slides. So the first thing that I want to talk about is this idea of touchless try-on, right? So for several months, consumers haven't been able to go into a store to experience a brand or to try on a product. And as I mentioned, even when they are able to do that, that experience is going to look a little different. And so when we think about touchless try-on at Facebook, we're thinking about the utilization of AR and VR to try and recreate a try-on experience, or to create an experience that enables a consumer to engage with our brands in a more meaningful way. And so you see a few examples on this slide. So we have opportunities to create filters both organically and from a paid standpoint. And so the examples that you see here, 2 of them are organic, 1 of them is paid. So if you look at the example on the far left-hand side of your screen, this is Estee Lauder brand. And a few weeks ago, they dropped a collaboration with Lady Aiko, who is a Japanese artist. And what you see that they've done here with this filter is they've utilized a lot, the butterflies that you see and the flowers and the hearts and the stars, like these are all elements from that artist that were included on the packaging and the bottle that she helped design. So this, again, was just a really fun way from an organic standpoint for consumers to interact with that brand around the launch of that collaboration. The example that you see here in the middle is from La Mer. And La Mer has a product called Eye Concentrate. And one of the key benefits of that product is that it brightens eyes. And so when you have a skincare product, when you start to think about, how can I use a filter for a skincare product? It may feel like a stretch at first, but I think they were really creative in the way they did this filter by using this sort of this shimmering glitter effect under the eye to highlight the fact that this is a product that brightens your eyes. So I thought that was a nice way as a skincare brand to utilize a filter. And then the example you see on the far right from SK-II, this falls more into the paid category space. So right now at Facebook, we do have AR ads that brands can take advantage of. And so what would happen here is if I were to see this ad in my feed and I click into the ad, that's going to open up the AR camera effects tool within my phone. And I can then try on different looks. I can try on different shades of lipstick. I can try on different shades of an eyeshadow palette to see, what I think looks best on me. And once I find a shade that I like, I can click through directly to site for purchase. I can also snap a photo of myself in that shade. I can share that photo, save that photo. So there are lots of different ways that you can play around with this AR experience, both from a paid and an organic standpoint. And with the paid example, of course, you're going to get a lot more scale and reach because you're able to then target a much broader audience with that ad unit. And so these are really great, again, to replace an in-store try-on experience. They're really great for a product launch or a brand moment that you're looking to highlight in a bigger way. The second thing is live. And I'm sure you've all seen in your own feeds that live is really having a moment right now. And what's great about live, whether on Facebook or Instagram, is that it literally sits at the top of our feed. So it's very easy to find. It's urgent, it's exciting in the moment, and we've seen every type of creator and brand, celebrity take to this live stage on their phone. So I can do anything from learning how to demo a basement to dyeing away grays to meditating with masters. I mean, there's so many really great things that are happening within Facebook Live, and people love to make these lives, and people love to watch them. So we've really seen this take off in the last few months. But what I think we have to think about as businesses is how do we capture people's love of lives to help really move the business, move the needle on our business, and how do we leverage lives in a much bigger way to drive real business outcomes. And we like to think about it as live is sort of going back to my earlier point. Live is like the pickle on the cheeseburger, but it's not the whole cheeseburger. It's part of, it should be part of a larger campaign. And I think this example from Nike here is a really great one. So in this example from Nike, what they were doing is they planned to do a live broadcast of one of their athletes, Eliud Kipchoge, who is a marathon runner. And this live was meant to follow him as he set out to break the 2-hour marathon barrier. So you'll see if you look at the sort of the top left image, they used paid and organic media to drive viewership of the live experience, where you could actually watch Eliud, try to set this record. And then the images that you see along the bottom of your screen, I think Nike did a really great job of taking some of the live moments, some of the highlights from that live broadcast, and then they cut that down into shorter video snippets that can be utilized in an ad campaign that followed the live broadcast. So they've done, if you look at the copy, you see things like, get the shoes that Eliud wore to break the 2-hour marathon barrier. There were a couple of units that actually had some video highlights from that live experience. And then on the far right, you see a more e-commerce focused unit that was part of the campaign. So I think they did a really beautiful job. And the way I like to think about lives, and the way I would encourage you to think about lives if you're interested in sort of dipping a toe or diving all in here, I like to think about it as in the same way you would like a TV network launching a new show, right? So when a network launches a new show, like what gets people to tune in? Well, they see the ads, right? They see the ads for the show, so they become aware of it. They like the people and the actors that are going to appear in the content, and they also know that it's going to be on at the same time every week, so they know when to tune in. So I would challenge you to sort of think about it in that way. Like once you determine what the right cadence is for your brand to create these live experiences, whether it be, I'm going to do one every Tuesday at 9, or I'm going to do them bi-weekly, and then you experiment and find the right time that works best for your brand. But once you start to figure that out, then start to think about how can I use paid media to drive viewership and tune in, and then how can I take some of the best moments from that live and cut that down into ad units that run after the fact to give it more scale, so that it's not just sort of just this fleeting moment that lives within live. So I would think about it in that way. The next thing that I think is really blowing up right now, and I think we'll continue to see this grow, is the idea of conversational commerce. And conversational commerce is a great way to create that one-to-one connection with consumers that you maybe would have had at counter before, if you're a brand that relies heavily on retail. So what you see here is a messenger experience. So you have the opportunity to take someone all the way down the funnel through Messenger. So if you follow the flow with me, if you look on the left-hand side of your screen, you have awareness media that's running. But these ads that are running are click to Messenger ads. So the call to action in this ad on the left is to send a message. And so if I click send a message, it's then going to take me to a Messenger experience where I have an opportunity to interact with the brand. It may take me to a bot initially, depending on how you have it set up. It could take me to a bot, and then it could take me to a real person. But that gives me the opportunity to ask a real person product questions. It creates opportunity for beauty experts and brand experts to do a live consultation with a customer. And then ultimately, we can move them down to purchase and order management and fulfillment. And then the last image you see all the way on the right is we have the opportunity to retarget and remarket to consumers who have, made purchases within this messenger experience. So I may want to follow up with someone who has purchased a serum, for instance, and 2-3 months later, I want to remarket to that person and say, hey, you purchased that serum with us a few months ago. Is it time to replenish? Or maybe I want to use it as an upsell opportunity, right? So you purchased that serum. Now, maybe you should consider the moisturizer or a toner, that goes with that. So those are really great ways to use Messenger. There are third-party developers out there. We can make recommendations who can help you build out this commerce experience with Messenger, and it's really something that is available to all brands today. Also, sticking with conversational commerce, we have the capability to send sponsored messages. So within Messenger on Facebook, you can see, if you look on the far right, a sponsored message from a brand with a shop now call to action. We also have reminders, like you see in the middle, this middle image. So if someone adds to cart and abandons the cart, we can follow up with a message that you can see here. We saved your cart, or don't worry, we noticed you left some things there. We've saved it for you. So we have that capability as well. And then on the far right, we have the opportunity to follow up with a customer when something is back in stock, for instance. So there are just a myriad of ways that we can use Messenger to again create that more personalized experience that someone is maybe used to getting in store. And then something that is pretty new, in fact, this just launched, rolled out about 2.5 weeks ago, and some of your brands could very well be set up with the Facebook shop already. The Facebook shops is it's our company's vision is to create a unified shopping experience across all of our apps and services. So across Facebook, Instagram, ultimately Messenger, and ultimately what we want to see happen is, once consumers start to adopt shopping across our platforms and they save their credit card information within Facebook Pay, that will allow them to easily discover and shop all brands across all of our platforms in a really friction-free way. And so this is really exciting. And commerce, I mean, this has been something that's been on our roadmap for a long time. And I will say that, because of COVID, it's something that Mark Zuckerberg and team really pushed to accelerate, because this is something that is a great way to support small and medium-sized businesses as well as large businesses, and giving those brands another outlet to sell their products. And so Facebook shops, it's really simple. Brands who already had a visible Facebook shop set up, it would automatically be converted to a Facebook shop. If you haven't been converted yet, it's coming, and this will be a rollout over the next 3 to 6 months. But it's a really simplified, unified experience across all of the apps. As a brand, you have the opportunity to go in and customize the shop and tailor the experience so that it fits with your brand identity. It's scalable, and it's a safe way for consumers to shop. So this is incredibly exciting, and something that has been in the works for a while, and we're thrilled that we could accelerate it, particularly during this time. So those are a handful of opportunities that I think are really really impactful, and really allow brands to be where the consumer is right now. And so we should continue to think about the fact that Live and Messenger have become such important platforms for consumers right now. How can our brands show up there in an effective way? how can we be using AR and VR to bring our products to life when a consumer may not be able to experience those products right now. And then finally, just making sure that you're leveraging all of the shopping and commerce tools that exist across Facebook right now, whether that be something as simple as making sure that you're tagging all of your products in your organic shopping posts, to being set up on IG checkout or setting up a Facebook shop, or of course using paid media to drive to an e-commerce experience. But yeah, so I think that's it. So I know some of these are pretty high level and quick, but like I
Oh,
said,
Matt,
we'll take
that
some
was
questions.
so great, Matt. That was excellent. Thank you so much. I think there was just so much in there. And I'm going to combine a few of the questions. I'm going to put them all into one question right now. And then, so we'll just answer that one. And then again, if anyone in the audience has any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or to your current contact at Stella Rising, and we will get right back to you. But one question that it seems like a number of people had in different ways is, you talked about all these amazing opportunities, which really are so exciting, especially for the beauty community. But is everything here available for smaller brands? It's so exciting to see what some of the big guys are doing. But how about the indie brands?
Yeah, everything everything is available to all brands, with the exception of Facebook Shops, which I'll get into. But AR, VR available to all brands. The thing I would mention there is that we would recommend that you work with a third party, AR. Whether it's a Facebook marketing partner that specializes in AR development, and we can provide a list of some of our recommendations. But there are some production costs, of course, that come with building out an AR experience, and so that's something to think about. But it's available to everyone. Live is certainly available to everyone, as is all of the opportunities that I talked about in Messenger. Facebook Shops is the one that you may be eligible for it now, or it may have already rolled out for your brand, and if not, that's something that will be coming and be available, in the next 3 to 6 months or so.
That's great. We had one quick question that I just wanted to address. In order to send messages in Messenger, is that part of a paid campaign, or is that organic? How does that work?
Yeah, so to drive to the Messenger experience, it would be a paid media campaign. So we have ads that can run across Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, that click through to the Messenger experience. So you could use those ads to drive to your Messenger experience, and then your brand would sort of take over from that point on. And then we can use ads again to remarket to consumers who have interacted with the brand through Messenger.
Perfect. That's great. Well, I think that you've covered so much. I really want to thank Matt so much for joining us today. He and Malik, our day-to-day client partner, are such great partners to Stella Rising. We really so appreciate your support for our clients in this time when they are trying to build and grow through an unprecedented environment. Again, please reach out to me with any follow-up questions. Everyone, I do hope you stay tuned for next week's episode of Stellavision. Have to plug it, where our fantastic Chief Digital Officer, Brandon Hegel, will be back talking about what's changing in e-com and retail, especially now that the country is increasingly opening up. So there's lots of exciting stats there. Again, Matt, thank you so much, and look forward to continuing the conversation. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.